controllers in hand, yeah, we're ready to review. From the boss fights, the plot twist, bringing it to you. We're the kings and queens of the console and the queue. Otakus and geeks, gaming fan.
Welcome to tacosandgeeks.com. Justin here, back with more video game reviews. And today we are going to be talking about a visual novel narrative game entitled Until Then, which is available for your PlayStation and PC. I think it's coming out on the Switch at a later date. As always, I give you a brief synopsis, so without further ado, here we go. In a world still recovering from a catastrophe, Mark and his friends navigate the joys and woes of another year of high school. Wake up in a typical teenage bedroom, practice piano, race to meet homework deadlines, and build and burn relationships as you reminisce about the daily insecurities of high school life. That is until a fateful meeting sets off a chain reaction upending in Mark's life. People disappear and memories prove unreliable. Uncover a hidden truth with Mark and his friends in this narrative adventure and race to unravel the mystery before it's too late. As far as the story goes, the best way I can say this, I'm going to keep it very, very vague in what I thought about the story. I thought the story was brilliant. It's beautiful. It's emotional. It is very hard-hitting when you get towards the end, and there's little hints of it, of that this is not going to be such lovely roses. This is a real slice of life narrative story, very well-written characters. I enjoyed it. It literally was like reading a really good book that I could not put down. I will have to say that there are elements in the story that I didn't like, especially when it gets a little bit into like more of the supernatural elements to this thing. I thought that when the story is at its strongest, when it's really hitting you with that slice of life and giving you what it's like to be a teenager in the Philippines at this particular time period. And I thought they did a really good job of actually capturing that and immersing a lot of Filipino culture into this, especially when it comes to the food, the style of music. I thought it did a really good job with that. Story is very heartbreaking. Get your tissues ready. That's all I'm going to say about this. You're not going to expect the story to go the direction it's going to go. And I thought it did a really well written job of this. I'm not going to go too much detail besides what the synopsis is. And just to make it sure I'm not spoiling anything, I'm making sure all the footage that you see here is like the very, very beginning, where there was no real plot points or things like that. Mark is a really great character. I love this come of age story, and that's all I'm going to say. Go into the story blindly. Now let's talk about gameplay and the graphics. Now this is a visual novel or a narrative story game, as we are calling it these days. But I will definitely have to say that in terms of visual novels and just narrative story driven games, I don't think I can ever go back, or it's going to be hard for me to go back to that format with a still image, just the background and text, and not have being able to walk around and interact with the world as you've seen with the gameplay here. Mark is able to travel. Mark is able to go into various locations such as the school, the hospital, things of that nature. It's not free roam, is where the story is dictating you to go, but you're still able to at least control Mark. You're able to answer text messages and selecting different choices to have the conversation, which can actually really have a different reaction towards your friends, your family, things of that nature. There are things in here that I thought they implemented very, very well with that, especially Mark being able to use social media. You can check social media, you can like statuses, you can comment. And they also have some mini games in here. That way it does break the monotony of you constantly reading. And I thought that the mini games that they have in here is actually pretty cool, especially this one, which is you taking Mark, and Mark is meeting a friend, and they're trying to pick out this food and just to see how much you can do. There's one where you have to scare people at a haunted house, things of that nature. So they did enough mini games to keep it from the break of the constant text reading, because there is no voiceover work whatsoever. So I'll get into that when we get into the sound. But as far as the graphics go, as you can see, this pixelated art, and I'm loving this type of style that we're getting recently, is this pixelated art. And I know it's very unorthodox for someone to be talking about cinematography in a video game or camera shots or angles, but just looking at the way the camera is placed in this game, the way certain shots are done in this game, it's mind blowing. That is just, it really gives you that cinematic feel. The graphics, the lighting, everything is just gorgeous, just from every piece of frame. It is a beautiful game to look at. Definitely one of the best pixelated arts in a visual novel I've seen in quite some time. Definitely love the gameplay, definitely love the graphics, story, but let's give you a sample of that good old music. Music is pretty good. Mark is a pianist and he loves the piano, so a lot of the score of this game actually reflects Mark's choices in music and what Mark likes to do. There are some really emotional themes in here that really, when it comes to those high drama or melodramatic moments, it does hit you. You do feel it, and it does. The music does a really great job of complementing that tone of kind of that slice of life drama, that coming of the age, that those growing pains that we've all endured as kids and teenagers and things of that nature. So I thought it did a really good job of making sure that since there's no voice acting, the music has to speak, the music has to complement, the music has to do its job to keep the tone, to keep you engaged. And I honestly like the fact that this did not have actual voice acting in this, because for me, I can now kind of make and kind of interpret and imagine what I think that this music should actually withhold. So I thought it did a really good job of capturing all of that. So I'm definitely going to be giving until then a B plus for my final thoughts. I thought this game did a phenomenal job of really just capturing what it's like to be a teenager in this type of environment, what it's like to have this kind of slice of life. It is a gut wrenching story. Be prepared, and definitely just a little hint, this is not a spoiler. Continue even when you think it ends. You might have to play this multiple times to get the full scope of the story. Definitely check this one out. Put this on the must list. Definitely so far one of my favorite games of 2024. This is Justin from tacosandgeeks.com. What did you think of it till then? Comment below. Let me know. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and thank you for visiting tacosandgeeks.com.